October 12th, 2018. I'm going to call the Administrative Committee meeting of SCAQMD order. And I guess that, do we have any discussions from any of the board members? Ms. Mitchell?
None here. You can hear me? None here.
Okay, I guess the only comment that I would like to make, as everyone can see, Dr. Burke is not here. Unfortunately, he had some medical issues that he had to have attended to this morning and wasn't able to make it. So we'll proceed with that. Yeah, okay. Now we have a quorum of Mayor Benoit.
Morning.
Mitchell.
My apologies for being late.
It's all right. Myself. The report, Mr. Nastri, of any out-of-country travel?
Nothing to report at present, Dr. Parker.
Okay. Then we have a review itself of the governing board agenda. I reviewed it. Any of the other board members, committee members have any comments on the agenda?
No.
I have a question, Mr. Nastri, relative to the refinery issue itself.
Yes, sir.
For the possibility of the November agenda. Do you have any comments on that?
So, Dr. Parker, if the chairman so desires, we could have a item added to the November agenda whereby we could discuss the refinery committee meeting that was held in Wilmington. And depending on what the chairman decides, we could do it.
But as of right now, it's not scheduled.
That's
correct.
That might be an issue. It's part of might be part of a rulemaking.
if the chairman wants to report.
Yeah, I guess
It would be informational only.
it would just be informational, just in terms of what happened.
Well,
Like the other committees.
It's a starting status.
So in other words, we do a report from what happened at mobile source, what happened at stationary source. It would be just like that.
Basically like those.
But with the presentation.
yeah.
That's.
I'm not
I don't
sure
think that
that's-
was really
Right.
the intent.
So, Dr. Parker, I think that we need to discuss internally how we could move, I think, what you're asking for forward. Usually
Okay.
the chairman has the prerogative to put anything on the agenda. And so that's why I was saying if the chairman wants it on the agenda, we'll put it on the agenda. But I understand that there may be some concerns about some specifics, and we can discuss that and report back with you later.
All right. Thank you very much. I don't have any particular information other than the fact itself that that's where we are as of right now, that I can get back to you, as you can get back to me within the next few days. Okay, moving on to the next item, approval of compensation for board member assistants. Are there any that?
So this item before you is for the addition of a employee consultant to Supervisor Perez. And his resume and background and information is part of the package.
Okay. Anyone has any questions or concerns about that?
No.
No questions
None.
or concerns here. I'll move it.
Okay. Okay.
I'll second.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Benoit,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell,
Yes.
Dr. Parker,
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay. And now we have a status report on major ongoing and upcoming projects for information management.
Good morning.
Mr. Moskowitz.
Morning, Dr. Parker, members of the committee, Ron Moskowitz, ADO of Information Management. I have a lot of good news to report. We've upgraded our internet bandwidth from 70 megabits to 200 megabits. This not only prepares us for migration to Office 365 and other cloud services, but significantly improves the overall internet speed at the district. We also went into full beta testing for our brand new mobile app for the iPhone, iPad, and Apple Watch. We had a table at last week's Clean Air Awards and helped install it on a number of devices. We are making a few small changes based off of the feedback that we received and plan to go into production soon afterwards. Everything else is going very well, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions about the new
Just
upcoming?
Just a quick comment on the beta. I want to say I appreciate being allowed to jump on that. I've got it on all three of my devices. I've been using it frequently. It's working very well.
Great.
I guess my only other question would be, is at some point in the mapping, do we get to where we have a map of all the permitted places, or are we still just going through that Find app to find that to find properties around or permits that are around you?
So we'll put that as part of our probably a phase 2 or phase 3 implementation.
Gotcha. Well, it's looking great so far. I can't wait to see that next couple steps.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one question. Are we going to be including every permit that we have, or just certain types of permits?
I
think that's to be determined.
Yeah, it's to be determined. We're not sure at this point.
Okay. All righty. Mrs. Mitchell, any questions?
No, just the question is, Ben, can you teach me how to do it?
If you get it on your Apple Watch, I'll even show you how to do that.
Well, I know Ben has all the gadgets.
All righty. Thank you very much, Mr. Musk.
You bet.
So when do you anticipate having all of this completed?
Actually, we're looking at going live in about 3 weeks. It'll be available in the Apple Store.
Phase 1.
Fantastic. Very good.
Yeah. So that'll be phase 1. Then we're going to make some more changes based off of other enhancements that we want to add to it. So over time, we'll be including phase 2 and phase 3, but it'll be available in the Apple Store in about 3 weeks.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Now we move to our action items. Number 7, establish board meeting schedule for calendar year 2019. Mr. Nastri?
Thank you, Dr. Parker. As part of the board packet, we have the proposed schedule. We're following the routine that we have of the first Friday of the month, except for July, and that was in order to accommodate the July 4th holiday. And on that one, we're recommending that it be moved to July 12th. Now, I just sort of raised the issue that at one of the governing board meetings in the months past, Supervisor Nelson raised the issue of why are we moving it? Some of us have meetings, and if it's on the first Friday and we miss it, then we miss it. But I just raised that issue, and we recommended moving that date to the next Friday. I just want you aware of it.
Any questions by any of the other board members?
I would just say that we can cross that bridge when we get there. Have to make a decision now, but if there are enough agenda items piling up that we want to, then we could leave it there. But we are dark in August, so it's probably we will want to meet in July.
I'd agree.
Okay, have a motion?
Move approval.
Second?
Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Benoit,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell,
Yes.
Dr. Parker,
Yes?
motion passes 3-0.
Okay. Item 8, issue regarding the RFP for engineering consultant to assess BART for proposed rule 1109.1 NOx emission reduction and for refinery equipment.
So Dr.
Mrs.
Parker,
Nakamura.
Dr. Parker, staff recommended that we pull this item. We weren't quite yet ready, and I would request that we pull this item.
All righty, that item has been properly asked to be pulled, and the request has been granted by the chair.
Thank you.
Move to item number 9. Issue for RFP for health study of impacts of well rupture at Aliso Canyon.
Yes. Good morning, Dr.
Joe,
Yes. Yes, this is Joe K. Gosh.
Go right ahead.
Dr. Parker and members of this committee. So this item is to issue the RFP, again, regarding this, the health study of the Aliso Canyon gas leak. This, of course, was funded in part by the settlement with SoCal Gas. Staff has been working with the Health Study Technical Advisory Group, which is comprised of scientists and other representatives from various agencies, specifically health experts, faculty members from universities, as well as 2 community members that were selected by the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council to serve on this technical advisory group. We've been working very closely with this group to determine what should be part of this RFP. And in addition to this, staff is coordinating with the LA County Department of Public Health because they recently announced their settlement with SoCal Gas that provided $25 million toward a health study on the same topic. So we are working in close coordination with them to ensure that the work that is conducted through this RFP feeds directly into the work that they will be conducting with their
Okay. I have one question. When we finish with this study, how long are we anticipating that it's going to take?
So the length of the study is still to be determined. I would anticipate that this portion of the study would probably take on the order of 1 to 2 years.
Any interim reports during that 1 to 2 years, or is just going to be one report all presented to us at one time?
So we are asking for periodic reports. I need to check if it's either quarterly or every 6 months. And I think, one of the other requirements that we would have on whoever is selected as the contractor would be to do periodic reports through the Health Study Technical Advisory Group to give the community updates on the progress of this project. So that's something that the Health Study Technical Advisory Group has agreed to do as part of, serving on this group to do these updates to the community on the progress.
What about to the board?
We're happy to provide updates to the board as well.
I would think that, yes.
So during the length of the study, I would suggest that we report back biannually, twice a year, and then a final report at the end of the study.
Okay. I think that would be very, very wise to do, so keep us in the loop also as to exactly how that is going and what what's being found, because sometimes we'll have people that come up, start talking about something, and we don't know anything at all about it, and that would be not satisfactory. Any further questions by any of my colleagues?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So our study is $1 million. The LA County study is $25 million. And now Dr. Parker has just asked a series of questions about reporting back. And will we also be following the LA County study on this? Because I am assuming that may take longer than 1 or 2 years, or how are we coordinating with that? And we don't want to do duplicative work, but I think you're collaborating with them so that doesn't happen. But I'm wondering a little bit more about the coordination and the reporting back to our agency on what is happening with the LA County Health study.
Yes, so that's an excellent question. So, regarding the two different studies, because our study will be launched first, we decided as an advisory group, that the best approach would be to tackle the work that lays the critical and necessary foundation for any work that will be done on this topic, including the work to be done with the $25 million at LA County Public Health. So this portion of the work, again, is a piece that any study on this topic would need to do, and specifically, it's about doing looking at the data, integrating all the data that was collected, and coming up with a really robust exposure model of what were the pollutants and what were the exposures at that time. As far as getting updates on the progress of the LA County work with the $25 million, they are right now really in the early stages of setting up their internal committee. They have asked us if we can participate as part of some kind of committee, and I think I think the specifics are still yet to be determined at this point, but we're definitely in close contact with them. They serve on our advisory group, and I would certainly expect that we'll be getting updates from them.
Yeah, I would hope that we would get updates from them periodically as well, and I'm sure that our supervisors to understand what's happening out there. So I would ask for the first staff to report back to us periodically on what the LA County Health study is doing and their results. Thank you.
Mayor Burnett. Any questions? Okay, so it is stated, and it should be, I should say, motions should basically state that we'll get every 6 months a report back to our committee and then to the board as to exactly what progress has been made and what periodic findings themselves may have been concluded at that time.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move adoption of the recommended action with those provisos that our staff reports back to us every 6 months on the results, the progress.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Mayor Benoit,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell,
Yes.
Dr. Parker,
Yes.
motion passes 3-0.
Okay. Mr. Alatorre.
Good morning, Dr. Park.
Amend contracts for legislative representation in Sacramento, California.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Good morning, Dr. Parker and members. This item is staff is seeking approval to extend for 1 year the contract we have with Cruz Quintana and Company, with Joe Gonzalez and Son, and California Advisors. This is the first of 2-year extensions that they are eligible for. And that's it.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll just comment that we've been very satisfied with the work of these consulting firms in Sacramento, and I would recommend that we continue with them. I'm saying this as chair of the legislative committee.
All right. Any questions by?
Nope, none here, and I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Mayor Benoit,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell,
Yes.
Dr. Parker?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Alrighty. Then we have some written reports from Mr. Alatorre. Any questions concerning the written reports?
None here.
Sinastra, is there any other business that should be considered by a committee?
No, sir.
Alrighty. Any public
I
comment?
had one
Okay.
other business item, Mr. Chair. Mr. Nash, I just wanted to ask about the 617 committees, the items that came up there at public comment at our board meeting. Has there been any further follow-up on that? As far as the ask from business groups that wanted to join in those committees, or have we had any more update on that?
Well, what we said to those businesses was that if they want to apply, they can apply. Whether or not they're selected for the steering committee, they still have the ability to provide input. So if you're looking at some of the specific membership issues, we've talked about the issue of national membership versus local community members. And the guidance that we have from the State Air Resources Board really is focused on the local aspect of the 617 process. So the majority of the steering committee, from what we understand from the Air Resources Board, has to be community residents. We also need to have a number of representatives that include local planning agencies, as well as local elected officials and local health officials. So those groups are important. When we look at the overall size of these steering committees, every steering committee is different, and that's true for all 10 of the steering committees that have been selected throughout the state. So what's happening in Bay Area and West Oakland is going to be very different from what's happened in San Diego. We believe that in order to work with the groups effectively and efficiently, that they should be roughly in size from 10 to 30. More than 30, we believe it'll be too unwieldy. Less than 10, we don't believe we can be as inclusive as we would like to be. So we're still looking at between 10 and 30. We're looking at a majority of community residents. We're saying that if there's businesses that are involved, they should be local businesses that are actually based in those communities that have been selected. Now, I know that there's been some discussion about the larger national groups. For now, what we're saying to the larger national groups, whether they be larger business groups, larger environmental groups, larger NGO groups, is that the perspective is that if you want to apply, you can apply, but that is not where the priority is going to be. So if people want to apply, we're encouraging them to apply. And if there's the desire to have a local community represented by the member of a broad association, then that representative has to represent that local entity, whether it's that local business or that local aspect. They've got to have that address there. So I've had discussions with others. I'll just say like BizFed and SEEB, and we talked about this with other NGO groups, and for the most part, we've heard a general acceptance. And as I said, anyone's more than welcome to apply, and we can help evaluate where it is. But from a broad perspective, those are the guidelines that we're operating under.
So let me see if I understood you correctly. So if I'm a business owner and I'm a member of one of these associations and I apply, at the end of the day, if I want my association to represent me there, I can have them do that for me, or is that what you meant?
So you as a member of that community is really who we want. That's what the legislature is designed for. Now, I recognize the argument that you may be busy. That's why we're trying to make these meetings available to everyone, whether they're at night, whether they're on weekend, whether they're during the day. All of that information is going to be done so that we can make sure that you, the local business, the local resident, has that ability to participate. But let's say you're busy.
Okay.
If you're busy and you can't make it, what we're envisioning is that you can designate an alternate. That alternate has to designate you, not a larger organization or somebody somewhere else.
Okay. And then who makes these committee appointments? Who's actually doing the decision making on that?
So the process that right now we are looking at is the staff would make the appointments. Part of the rationale for this is that if the governing board were to make these appointments, they become subject to the Brown Act. The intent of this is to move quickly because of the legislative timeframes. And if we are going to be subject to the Brown Act and notifications, we're not going to be able to make timeframes that are associated therewith. And at the ARB board meeting, there was discussion about this issue, and I think our own council can opine as to the ability to make this a Brown meeting when that wasn't specifically authorized.
So.
No, that's fine. I was just curious who was making the appointments. But I understand the reasoning for why it's going to be at a staff level. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Mitchell?
No, I don't have anything to add. Well, I could say that the CARB board was specific that we do want a business presence on the steering committee, but it has to be a business that is within the community that is designated as a AB 617 community. So I'm in agreement with what staff has recommended here. I think, however, on choosing the steering committee, if any board member wants to contribute, have their input in that, obviously they could do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I would assume then that what we're saying is that we're not excluding anyone. We're following the rules and stuff that has been laid out by CARP as it relates to who should be on these particular boards and who they should be representing without having an overall international or national or local, national, broader perspective. We want individual representation. Not we, but that's what CARP has mandated. So if anyone has an objection to that, then what we're saying is that maybe they need to attend the CARP meetings and see if they can get some, variances and stuff of those particular requirements.
And Dr. Parker, I just want to, yes, I just want to reiterate that just because you're not on the steering committee doesn't mean that you don't have a voice. So we encourage everybody to participate. We want them to participate. It's just the steering committee aspect, we do have guidance, and I'm very heartened to hear the ARB representative reinforce the approach that we've taken because we try to take ARB's guidance very seriously.
Will we be having public comment at the end of each one of these meetings as we do in our committee meetings and board meetings?
That's certainly our intent. At the kickoff meetings that we've held thus far, we've had, I would say, good audience participation, and that is the entire intent, is to improve the communication of the community with us, and not just us, but other elected officials. We had a really good meeting in San Bernardino where we had good representatives from the community, from the agencies, the planning agencies, and it was a really good discussion, Dr. Parker, with regards to people having some great suggestions in terms of how can we really enhance the ability to reach out to the youth. And they talked about different technologies, and we talked about some of the costs. And unfortunately, I don't have my phone, but I'm going to grab Jill's phone. One of the things that we talked about was we can periscope the meetings. We don't have to do webcasting and have all of those things. And the nice thing about this is that a lot of them know how to do it. And so we're going to sit down with Ron and we're going to talk about how can we coordinate, whether we're doing Facebook Live, whether we're doing Periscope, or we're doing some other kind of social media to make these more accessible. Because the big thing that we heard, at least San Bernardino, was we want to participate, we want to be part of it, but we want to be able to do it in a way that we're used to or the way that we think helps. So we've had a lot of really good participation, good excitement. I think that we're very excited to move forward on this. And we hope to have representation across the community, including business, including residents, including all those other groups.
Great. And I just want to make sure that you guys know that my question was just more, there were some questions raised by those business groups. They wanted more information, but I just want to make sure we got the information we needed out to them. It sounds like we have. So thank you very much. And thank you for letting me jump in on this item for other business.
Sure.
Okay. Any further comments by any of my colleagues?
Nothing
We'll
here.
go to public comments there in CC8. None there. Mrs. Mitchell?
No one here.
No one here.
None here. Okay, well, then that will conclude our meeting for today. Our next meeting is scheduled for November 9th at 10 a.m. Thank you very much, and everybody have a nice weekend.